Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, brought to you by TCG Wheat. My name is Bridgette Readel. I'm the Ag Director here and happy to have you joining me today, as always. Plenty of great things to discuss. The weather's just one of them, but all the things that are happening in farming today, we'll cover lots. First and foremost, that weather out there. Well, things are okay. They're a little bit better than a couple weeks ago. So consider this your wheat hauling combine fine tuning forecast. And we're going to hit a high today of about 85 degrees, looking for an overnight low in the low 60s. Might be a night to keep the air conditioner on for just a little while yet. Tomorrow, we're starting to see us taper on down. We'll hit a high of 82. And then as we go into the weekend, upper 70s all the way through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We might get back up to 80 with a little bit of a rebound on Monday. Looking forward to seeing what that weather brings us. Maybe some rain showers on Friday. There's about a 60% chance right now. But it's the weather. We never seem to have a guarantee about what that might look like. So we'll just find out soon enough. And today's weather brought to you by the Hot Tub and Sauna Store over there by Costco. If you're considering making some changes for the winter months, maybe you have thought, I'm a little stressed. I could really use a new hot tub or a sauna. Check them out. Talk to the folks at the Hot Tub and Sauna Store. They would love to make sure that you are comfortable, relaxed, and enjoying the health benefits of hot tubs and saunas. While you're listening today, if you might get the opportunity to share with me, how has your wheat been running? Now, look, asking a farmer what's his yield, that's the equivalent of saying, what do you think your acreage is? How much do you farm? But frankly, when I ask you that question, you can be anonymous. You don't have to give your name. You can just give me some rough estimates, right? Let me know if we're running in the 30s or if we're catching a little bit higher. Are you high or low on protein? And the ways in which you can do that is by giving a call on the JLA Insurance phone line, brought to us by Nate Thorsrud with JLA Crop Insurance. I'd be curious how things look. I've seen a lot of pictures of corn cobs out there with very poor pollination. I know that the wheat hit at a rather critical timing the heat hit the wheat at rather critical timing when we were really trying to make sure that we weren't losing bushels with flowering. I'm not sure that that was successful. So if you've got some insight into what's happening in your world with your farming forecast on your yield, again, you can use the JLA phone line, 701-293-9000. Then also, you can be watching on the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities, Acres TV, YouTube, and Facebook. Places to go check that out whenever you have a chance. And lastly, I have an email. You can reach me ag@flagfamily.com. Some of you have already been sending messages. I promise to be able to read those when I have a moment here when we're listening to the livestock report later on from the American Ag Network. Joining me today, we'll have On the Auction Block with Max Steffes of Steffes Group. A number of questions for him in regards to, they acquired recently a new business in Canada and literally buying out a business up there. And I'm curious how that looks and what differences we might be seeing in the Canadian market. We've got headlines to cover, and on the back half of the hour, we'll be joined by Brady Kirschner. He is with Michael Max. They have a new product we want to talk about, a DNA soil analysis service for biological products. So Brady will be joining us a little bit later on as well. In the meantime, one quick thing for all of you gardeners out there to consider. Have you noticed some marshmallows on the trees? And by that, I mean kind of a cottony looking bundle, which is actually an egg sac for the cottony maple scale. What the devil is this? Cottony maple scale is actually a bug, and it affects maples, dogwoods, elms, and other hardwoods. And this little bug lives through the winter as an immature female that's about a fifth of an inch long, and it's flat on the surface of twigs and branches. And due to that size and flatness, they're pretty hard to notice. Well, by the time May rolls around and temperatures warm up, they start to wake up. In mid-June, those egg sacs are noticeable, and they look like the marshmallows hanging on a tree. And it's about 1,000 eggs per sac. The crawlers, as they're called, hatch in late June to early July and start moving to the underside of the leaves in which they start feeding. At that stage, they're most susceptible to something that can control them, a synthetic compound, etc. And really, the females stay wingless, but the males, they start a different part of their life cycle and they become tiny winged insects and can fly away before too terribly long. So the best time to get them is when the crawlers are on the underside of the leaves. Cottony maple scale infestations are generally controlled by a natural enemy and so we don't normally have to treat for them. But it sounds like this year we've seen some fire populations. And when that happens, there's a sap called honeydew, maybe frass in some words, and that's actually the cottony maple scale excrement. It will cause black sooty mold and results in a blackened appearance on the leaves, twigs, and branches. If you think that's a concern and you want to ask more questions, I highly recommend those outstanding extension horticulturalists from both NDSU and University of Minnesota. They would be happy to help identify that, answer the questions that you have about control, and so much more. So don't give up the expertise. We certainly have it. And in this region, they do a fantastic job of being available to the public. All right. If you are a certified crop advisor, and many of you listening are, the GROW website stands for Get Rid of Weeds. I like how that one's named. That website now has certified crop advisor quizzes available so that you can earn CEUs, which are continuing education credits. And you can find those quizzes available on the page. Anywhere from 2.5 to 3 CEUs are currently available in pest management. The two seminar titles are The Basics of Herbicide Resistance and How to Manage Herbicide Resistance with Integrated Weed Management. To be honest with you, I know that meeting season is around the corner. Many people will be taking care of their CEUs at that time. But maybe if you have a moment and you want to knock some of those out now, here's a way to get those done online. Take the quizzes, pass with at least a 70%, and then again, receive the accreditation and your continuing education credits, which is generally on a 2-year cycle for the states. Another headline out there, new report out of the state of Illinois. This is a newly published study in weed technology, and it estimates that focusing on the state of Illinois, without the use of glyphosate in field, we would see annual losses of $300 million to $600 million for Illinois corn and soybean growers. Okay, what does all this mean? There's been discussion about glyphosate going away. Glyphosate is an active ingredient that's a non-selective herbicide. It's sold under many different brand names out in the marketplace. When you're using glyphosate, let's make sure we reiterate this. We need to remember to respect any product that we're working with, whether it's bleach in your house, whether it is something that you're using for weed control out in the yard or in the field. Personal protective equipment is always listed on your labels. Read it and follow it. I've had a lot of farmers tell me that by using personal protective equipment, they feel very comfortable using a number of products out in the field, or they use closed handling systems. It's when we disrespect the product that we're using that we can run into trouble. Someone is saying, I'm tired of people using glyphosate. They're just pouring it on. Remember, glyphosate is incredibly expensive too. Any input into the crop is right now. So we're not spraying things willy-nilly. And here's the experiment I want you to try. If you're concerned about the volume that's being used on a field, I want you to get out that 12-ounce can of Diet Coke, that fridge cigarette you can't live without. Evenly split that up between 2 5-gallon pails of water. So that's 12 ounces, evenly distributed in 10 gallons of water. And now I want you to evenly distribute that across a football field because that's about the size of an acre. So 12 ounces of product in 10 gallons of water over a football field. Now that's a big generalization. There's a lot more fine tuning to rates and water rates and so forth, but that gives you an aspect of what farmers actually do in the field. Now this study talks about the impact of taking glyphosate out of the marketplace because what would happen is we would lose weed control in certain places. And I know I just heard farmers say, but glyphosate doesn't hardly kill anything anymore. But for the things that it does control, whether it's grass, etc., we don't always have alternatives for it. And without our alternatives, it would see us increasing tillage. Tillage leads to more soil erosion, water erosion, etc. Also, using products like glyphosate help us reduce our labor and fuel costs. We're not hand weeding fields. These are ways in which we can keep our weed-free fields out there, because if we don't have weed-free fields, We now have weeds that get into our food supply. We get docked at the elevator because of having contamination and so much more. So the core message is very straightforward. Most farms could adapt, but the adaptation without glyphosate would certainly come at a much higher cost and would be reflected in our food costs as well. We're going to take a listen to the livestock market from the American Ag Network, and when we return, we'll be joined by Max Steffes with On the Auction Block. Oh, we know that auction chant. That means that someone is here from Steffes Group for On the Auction Block. And today we get to visit with Max Steffes. All right, Max, got all the hard hitting questions today. Are you ready?
Yeah, hit me with them, Bridgette. How are you, by the way?
I am great. I'm hoping that you've had a very productive last couple of weeks, even through the heat.
Yeah, we really have. This time of year historically has been one of our busiest times from a scheduling and planning perspective with fall auction sales. So there's been a lot of families that have been doing some planning and preparation, and part of that is needing auction services, whether it's farmland or farm retirements or construction equipment. We've been doing a lot of that. So lining up a lot of auctions for this fall.
Well, speaking of some of those auctions, do you have some that sort of stand out as of recently?
We can talk about Canada too. I know that was on your notes, but quite a bit of land transitioning in September. I think there's 20 real estate events over 5,500 acres that are going to be selling on our auctions alone in the month of September. So there's a lot of transitioning going on. Of course, that's all associated with the wealth general transition that's going on from a baby boomer perspective. There's just a tremendous amount of wealth stored in that generation, and people are dying, of course, and people are transitioning, and part of that is a natural transition of bringing some of these farms to the market.
I do have a question. If drought conditions impact any of the pricing, I know you said historically this is a very busy time of year. Will drought ever impact land sales so that they slow?
The three factors that we look at when we look at what influences land prices the most, first would be commodity prices, second would be interest rates, and third would be yields. So, of course, if you don't have a crop to sell, that's definitely going to affect the market from a local perspective. And it is pretty dry out there, but we've got a saying in our business: you don't buy land for 1 year, you buy it for a generation. And everybody recognizes that in production agriculture, and they try to take a long-term view. And farmers are optimistic, and it's hard to be optimistic when I just took a drive through Cass County here yesterday. There's some ugly looking corn out there, Bridgette, and I'm sure
Ooh,
you've seen it
ooh,
too. Some of the
not good.
yeah. So, but farmers tend to take a longer term view of things in terms of making those purchases, because they know they don't come along very often. But sentiment is everything in agriculture, and if sentiment is poor because of drought conditions, it's certainly going to affect land prices to some degree. It just depends on the piece, the location, and the severity of the drought and how widespread it is.
Let's go back to what you mentioned about Canada. There's some big differences up there as far as how land is changing hands, maybe the whys, etc., than what we're seeing here in the States. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, about 2 years ago now, we purchased Bruce Shapansky Auctioneers up in Tisdale, Saskatchewan, and we've got a team of about 25 people up there now, and I actually had the privilege of going up there 2 weeks ago to help Jake with a big real estate auction. We're going to be selling 36 quarters for two Dutch brothers that are going to be retiring and downsizing their operation. Up in Canada, we talk about the farm consolidation that's occurred here in the States. I would say, from my perspective as a Yankee down here, the consolidations just occurred on a whole different scale up there. Of course, they have less people, more land, and these farms up there are just mega. I mean, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 acre farms all over the province of Saskatchewan. So it's pretty interesting to see, that consolidation take place, and it has taken place up there, and compare it with what we've experienced here in the Red River Valley and throughout North Dakota. I would say it's kind of supercharged from what we've seen.
So, here in the US, there's a statistic that says 20% of US farms do not have an heir. Do you think that that number is higher in Canada, that there are more farms without an heir, or are they larger farms with multiple heirs and therefore needing to expand considerably?
I would say, I'd be curious what the stats say. Obviously, numbers don't lie, but from my perspective, I would say the demographics are really similar, just outside
Mhm.
looking in. I mean, culturally, we're pretty closely aligned from the average age of farmers and that sort of thing. So I would say it's a lot of the same. Where you know, I bet the numbers would prove that. Maybe somebody can fact check me on that.
Um, I'm not sure who's going to fact check us, but I'm looking
Me
forward to
neither.
when they do because the public's always really good at letting us know.
Oh, I bet. You know that, being in the radio business.
So this is actually a question from a listener this morning who sent me an email. And the question is, do farmers or the landowners make improvements before they sell a piece of ground, such as burying rock piles. Does that increase value in any way? Does it make a difference, or do you just leave it for the next buyer?
It depends on how much work is needed to improve it, but generally, yeah, you want the farm to show well. So if there's some ditches that we can mow, if there's a culvert that we can fix, if there's an approach we can put in, and it's not going to be too arduous and costly to do so, we generally recommend that landowners make those repairs. If it's $100,000 tree bill to fix a shelter belt a mile long, yeah, probably not going to pay. We'll let the new buyer deal with that, but it's kind of a case by case basis based on the cost and what we think the benefit's going to be. We have a saying in our business: we want to spend $1 to make $1.50. So if it's a new battery in a tractor or something to that effect that's going to make a positive impact on the sale outcome of that asset is what we want to be. We don't want to spend $1 to go backwards, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense because let's face it, real estate agents will tell you what are the things that you need to improve your house or leave alone in the case of a sale. I'm sure with land, we have to consider those same things as well anytime we're putting a prospective buy in front of a customer.
Cost
You want to
benefit
call it that.
analysis. I think that's what they taught me in college, right?
I probably should have taken more notes that day in ag economics, but I'm glad you did.
Something like that.
You mentioned there's a great big auction coming up in Canada with a couple of brothers. Are there some other highlights to sales that you'll be seeing soon here in our area as well?
Well, more regionally, we've got some hunting land north of Frazee. There's 736 acres that's going to be selling for the Griffith family. That same family's also got a half section in Lemoore. There's another tract of land in Lemoore as well. There's a large 1,500 acre auction in Spink County, South Dakota, so south of here a couple hours. Of course, tomorrow we've got the Wells County land and farmstead auction, 110 acres that features a nice residence along with some recreational acres. So there's a ton of activity. All you got to do is go to steffisgroup.com. You can click on the land in the real estate tab, and you can see all of the upcoming real estate auctions in order. And while you're there, take a look at the equipment as well. We've got some nice equipment auctions coming up. I think there's 12 auctions this week, including the online event tomorrow. And I believe there's actually an auction and bid extension right now in Mason City, Iowa. So lots going on at the Steffis Group.
You know what? Even though there's lots going on, because Addison always says, I can scroll for ages to get to through all the listing that's at Steffis's website. But frankly, there's always room for one more. And if folks are interested, what's the number to call for them to get on your radar?
Of course, you can look us up online or swing by our office on Main Avenue. We would love to visit with you. Better yet, pick up the phone and call us, and we'll come see you.
Oh, I think that would be even better. Let's come see what folks have going on at their place and help make decisions. So, Max Steffes, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it as always, Bridgette. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, hang tight. We're going to talk about Mycomax next. What is it? Well, as always, I'm just going to let the source explain that when we return. Don't forget, we're getting ready to send everybody back to school. And when it comes to teachers and staff, we want to make sure to give a great big thank you to you. And that is tomorrow, Wednesday, August 12th, at our studios north of Thunder Road. If you're a teacher or a school staff member, stop by. We're giving you free lunch from 11 to 1. There will be several food trucks. That's going to include Detroit Deli, Top Dog Hot Dog, and the new Bomb B1 wagon. They are featuring a 4-piece smoked chicken or pulled pork sandwich with a side. I had to double check the list just to make sure. Not only are there food trucks for a free lunch, there will be games for kids, and the first 100 people get a certain specific prize. So don't dilly-dally. Get on over there tomorrow. Make sure you're here for lunch. We'd love to see you at the Flag Family Studios for WDAY and 1100 AM The Flag. Joining me in studio today, I have Brady. Okay, Brady, I always have to remember to if I haven't said your last name in a while. So here's my challenge. Carvetcher?
Kirch Navy.
Kirch Navy. I
Yes.
wasn't even close.
No, but it
Okay,
was a good
Kirch
try.
Navy. Okay, well, that's all right. I have an off-air joke about somebody else's name, and it sounds like you sneeze when you say it. But anyway, we'll
It's
do that
kind of the
another
same
time.
thing, yes.
All right, Brady, you have Mycomax. Can you explain that to folks who might not be familiar with it?
Well, Mycomax is kind of our, I guess you'd say, flagship product. We started with this,
Mhm.
over a decade ago, and what it is arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. Okay, a lot of guys go, "Ooh, that's a big word, right? What is it?" Well, it's a beneficial soil microbe that's supposed to be in our soils that basically will go into your root system and expand your root system greatly throughout the year.
Mhm.
In a short,
And when
go ahead.
you're saying that it should be in our root system, and but if we're not, if we're deficient, you have the way to help bring it back around for the added benefit of plants.
100%, and that's really what the meat and potatoes of what we want to get into today. We started with Mycomax. We added a bionic, which is a foliar, multi-species foliar nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and then it just kind of evolved to now we have partnered with a lab and we offer DNA soil testing. So we can go take some, a dozen plugs out of your field, each individual field, and give you a prescription of what biological you need, whether it be fungi, bacteria, maybe, a nematode defender or something like that. So we can look at 5,000 different species of microbes and tell you what your soil's doing and what you need to get better, fertilizer efficiency, really.
Before we go too far, excuse me, biologicals are kind of the buzzword that folks are talking about. Can we define that though? Because I think there's so much variability when someone mentions biologicals. How would you describe that to folks who are listening?
Well, I think you just throw out the word biologicals. Okay, what it is, our soil is living, right? There is
Mm-hmm.
thousands of different species of little bugs in our soil, microscopic bugs, microbes that they have jobs. They maybe one of their jobs is to break down organic matter. Maybe this other set of microbes they have to convert fertilizer that you put in the ground into plant usable form. Believe it or not, every piece of fertilizer, whether it's manure or chicken litter, the synthetic fertilizers, they have to be converted to plant usable form before your plant
Mm-hmm.
can use them. So
Mm-hmm.
we go in there and we go, hey, you don't have enough of these to convert your phosphorus into plant usable, so your phosphorus is getting tied up. Well, we put the microbes in to untie it, really. Um, so
Yeah,
it's a really cool deal.
it's their job to make sure that things happen correctly for the plant, right? Because it's kind of like that kid that or that adult that we're told when you take calcium, you should have vitamin D to help break it down. It's sort of a similar symbiotic relationship.
You just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. There is microbes, they work together because we have microbes that, hey, maybe they break this part down, but they need this set of microbes in order to continue to digest it. And, it's back of a lack of a better term, some of these microbes eat your organic matter and they defecate or poop or whatever you'd say, right? That
They
poop,
poop.
yeah, that is plant usable form. That is what your
Sure.
plant wants to get. Now, our Mycomax, which is our fungi, lives, grows off that root system and goes and gets the plant usable. The bacteria makes things plant usable. So it is a whole function under your soil that really has been lack of a better term, killed by anhydrous and tillage and chemicals over a century, right? So we now with the technology can go, hey, we've done over 1,000 tests on virgin soil. We know what virgin soil is supposed to be. You talk to any farmer out there that has ever tore up a pasture or virgin soil, they say that is my best field for the next 5 or 10 years because
Hmm.
of biology and that soil is functioning correctly.
And we're learning more about that all the time. What should be in our soils and how we can make it best perform. So that takes us to your DNA soil test. All right. Are we How does the lab do the analysis? Because I'm very familiar with how we do a soil test, a standard soil test, but what do we do different in a DNA soil test?
DNA is basically we break that down into the DNA sequencing into these microbes. So this is so far probably over my head. I mean, I'm probably not going to do a good enough job to explain it, but each microbe has DNA, just like you and I, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing. We can break that down into, we've tested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres to find out what microbes are there, what they do, um, the good guys, the bad guys, everything, and we've got it basically DNA sequenced to where you don't want these guys, or we have these guys that maybe kill these guys, or it's a whole, I don't know, war going on down there, and you want the good guys to outweigh the bad guys, right? So,
Sure.
I
Yep.
mean, that's really what it is.
And we're trying to make sure that we have the right balance.
Correct.
It's no different than when you do a soil analysis looking for nutrients, micronutrients. You're trying to decide what works and what doesn't. It's like creating the right prescription for that field. And that's what you're trying to do, but for the biologicals versus some of the synthetic fertilizers we might be using, correct?
You're on it. I mean, why not? I mean,
Well,
if you've got the chemical
sure.
end, the chemistry, why not have the
Hmm.
biological end? Because if you're going to put that chemistry in, you have to have the biology to convert it to plant usable, or it does you no good. So why don't we
So,
marry the two and make it a perfectly functioning little package?
well, you're right, because we don't have to have one or the other. This could all work together in sync. And
Exactly.
I think so many times when I hear folks talk about biologicals or our traditional fertilizers, they're thinking one or the other. We forget that there can be compatibility for the two of them, and you're bridging that gap.
That gap has now been bridged. Yes, and we've been doing this a long time, and I know I talked to you last year, and I had to keep my mouth shut, but I really wanted to tell you, right? But anyway, that's what we do because we know we have this, we have the chemistry, we have the biology, we have it all in one test. It's all right there, so we can actually look at how many pounds of nitrogen are in your soil and what bugs are associated with that and how much is available. Like this test is, I got it sitting in front of me. There's 3,500 pounds of nitrogen per acre in this field, but only 48 pounds per acre are available. So what are we going to do?
Hmm.
We're going to put a package together with our, biologicals to convert those or make them available.
So, how when you mentioned the test earlier, you said taking plugs from the field. That's different than a traditional sample with a soil probe, or we're not going quite as deep as like a 2 foot, etc.
No, we don't go 2 feet. Most of your microbes are going to live in that top 6 to 8 inches. So we
Okay.
go 6 to 8 inches because we want to know A, what's the chemistry available? B, what microbes do you have? And then do you have the correct or enough of the correct ones? And the cool thing about this, with our bioreactors and everything, if you've got some beneficial microbes, we can reproduce your own native species and put them right back in your field the next spring.
Okay.
Nobody else is doing that.
And so they're not. And how do you take the plugs? Because again, I'm traditional agronomy. I
Yep.
think about how we're using a soil probe in a pickup. What would this look like to get that 6 to 8 inch plug? And how big is that
No,
versus a
exact
soil
same thing.
core?
Exact same thing. I got people
Okay.
all over out there in their pickups right now. I just seen one this morning going out into a stubble field. We just got done combining. Actually, I just jumped out of the combine, came here, and I'm going right back in the
Thank you.
combine later. So
Thank you.
anyway, so yeah, it's the same thing. All I need is 6 to 8 inches, 1 inch round plug. I need 12 8 inches or 16 6 inch to get me enough soil to get this DNA analysis run. And I don't need them like little bitty quadrants in the whole field. Spread them out over your field. Give me a good representative of your field, and that's all I need.
Okay, that was going to be my next question
Yep.
is, are we doing this in quadrants? How do we set this up? Would you prefer to see something from hilltop, side hills, the low spots that are dry
Yes.
right now, headlands, just
Yes.
the variety of
I
where things are
I
at?
want the variety. We even have people that maybe say they have IDC issues, right? They will go out
Yeah,
and plug just their IDC spots so we can put the biology back in there to alleviate this IDC issue. So you can
let's not
take,
forget to
yeah, you can take your bad spots and send them in.
we talk in code sometimes, so
Yep.
we have to say IDC, iron deficiency chlorosis,
Sorry. Yep.
particularly in soybeans. That's okay because we have listeners who are going to go, I don't know what that is.
Right.
So I thought I would
It's the yellowish or
share.
dead spots you see in soybean fields, right?
Absolutely, and they're really pronounced right now with
Yes.
the strain that our
Yep.
soybeans are under.
100%.
Um, Folks can start doing this between now and freeze up,
Yep. Yep, we just
and
launched it last week. So yes, we're ready to roll. So anybody listening that does soil samples that wants more info, they can get a hold of us. But yeah, we're rolling right now.
how how long till results come back?
Two to
What's the turnaround on the samples?
2 to 3 weeks from the day you mail it in. And I
Okay,
know a lot
and
of
that
guys are like, well, geez, I'm going to have my dry fertilizer on by then. Well, that's fine. But you're always going to probably put some on in the spring anyway. That's where we come in and go, hey, maybe we don't have to put quite as much on next spring if we put the right biology down. And let me know what you put on this fall so I can put the right stuff in there.
because you've got the winter
Yep.
to go through and create
Yep.
the plan,
Yep.
and uh, depending on what you're doing, not every biological is good through the winter months. So it would be better to wait until spring application.
Yep. So what we'll do then in the
Okay.
spring is we'll have a package per field. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like everything, per field, per crop you're growing to put back in there. We can treat the seed, we can put it in furrow, and boom, you've got your biology rocking and rolling again.
All right. So folks have been listening. They're thinking, well, who do I call? How do I get these samples to Brady? Where do we start?
I think the best thing to do is go on NAF, which is Nancy Apple Frank, nafbiologicals.com, and just, I mean, that whole site is built around the DNA soil sampling, and it's so easy.
Okay.
There's a form on there that you fill out. That information comes to us, and then you can have your soil sampler or your hired man, your grain cart driver. I don't care who it is. Get me 12 to 16 plugs, and we'll get them sent in.
Any specific packaging? I know there are sometimes when you do samples for soil, and depending on what you need to do, you should not put in plastic or anything like that. Any requirements there?
I think your standard soil bags is what I recommend.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't do.
And
Go ahead.
considering there's something living in the soil, maybe not drive around with them on the pickup floor at 103-degree temperatures or
Nope,
so.
I would definitely try and get them in. Room temperature's fine. Yeah, you don't want them sitting in a pick bouncing around for a week and a half before you send them in. Get them in, or put them in your fridge if you're going to do 4 or 5 fields. Get them all together, and we'll send you a mailing label. You mail them in, and boom, we're done.
Brady, thank you so much for doing all of this, to take the time to get off the combine, come on in, give the explanation. I think you've piqued a lot of interest for folks. And if they missed the nafbiologicals.com website, I will say that they can email me, ag@flagfamily.com, and I will connect them directly to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridgette.
All right. So much appreciated, Brady. Thank you. Have a great day in the combine. And when we return, a little recap on the weather, a couple more headlines to go through, etc. See you in a minute. Hey, if you're thinking about drainage and what you should be doing to get ready for next year, well, the fall coming along, looks like there might be some opportunity to get some drain tile taken care of and a variety of other projects. Make sure you have a conversation with Blake Sunday over at Landmark Companies. You can visit landmarkteams.com, talk about what they're willing and able to do for you, and plan the whole project out, start to finish. Because over at Landmark Companies, precision drainage, proven results. For those who want to make a quick check of the weather, well, here's what I know. We're going to hit a high of about 85 today. And then tomorrow, light chance of rain, only like 20%. And then temperatures around 82. We'll see things fall off just a little bit for about a 3-day run where we're only going to hit the upper 70s. And Friday night, a chance of rain. I'm not putting much stock in it these days. It's been so sporadic and low possibilities. I'll believe it when I see it sort of situation. Through the weekend, we're going to see most temperatures high 70s, maybe hit 80 degrees, and then a little bit of a ramp up next week. Things will warm up slightly. So keep all of that in mind as you are making any of your plans. Now, our days might be warm and dry, but our evenings could be exciting. The Perseid meteor shower is coming right along. It, after eclipsing the sun on August the 12th, so that will be, tomorrow. So write that down. The moon hands over the keys and takes off. And so the night will belong to meteor watchers. The Perseids routinely crank out a very rich and dependable display year after year, and the shower will be most active now through August 24th, but really peaking tomorrow night, August 12th. The broad maximum will occur between 5 p.m. August 12th and 5 a.m. on the 13th. Half maximum, when half the maximum number may be seen, occurs 1 to 2 days on either side of the peak. So look for that tonight. Hopefully you don't have any smoke that is distorting the sky so you can't see all of these things. At its peak, up to 100 meteors per hour might be seen under the darkest of skies, and you may have to move away from light pollution in order to see it best. So if you're on outer suburban locations, about a half to a third of that number is more realistic. But the Perseids are also famed for their frequent fireballs. You know, I was good with this until that part. Now all I can think about is a fireball slamming right into the center of the earth. I'd hope we don't have to go through that. But a study by the Meteoroid Environmental Office, I didn't even know we had one at NASA, tallied 568 Perseid fireballs from 2008 to 2013, nearly 150 more than the second place Geminids. So there, fun trivia of what's going to be happening in the night sky for the next few evenings. So take a little look. And above all, if you see that happen, if you catch on to some of those, well, let me know over here at the Weather and Ag in Focus TCG Wheat Studio. Let us know what you see when you are watching those skies. Meanwhile, keep an eye on what we just recapped for the forecast. Pretty decent weather for your wheat hauling and combine fork fine tuning for the next few days. And join me tomorrow. We'll have guests once again. We'll be visiting with Lyle Planteen. He's with the Steiger Heritage Club. So many highlights because Steiger is the featured tractor at Rolog this year for the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers Reunion. Let's talk with Lyle tomorrow and learn so much more about Steiger tractors and history. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great rest of the afternoon. Jay Thomas, he's rolling in next.